saying that she was pregnant again, and we just lost two souls, basically, two souls. But we got family here, we're together, and we're just gonna do this together.
On the night of January 30th, 2023, a popular rapper lured his 22-year-old girlfriend, who was carrying his child, into what she thought was a celebration of his release from jail. Instead, she was killed after the rapper said he did not want anything to do with the unborn baby. Just hours later, a chilling 911 call reported a pregnant woman lying unresponsive in the Easton Park subdivision of New Tampa. When officers arrived, they found a scene that was nothing short of devastating. The young mother had been shot in the back of the head. Nearby, her 18-month-old son sat helplessly in the car, only feet from her mother's body. What began as a night of joy quickly unraveled into a brutal betrayal, one that would expose the darkness behind a man who appeared to have everything. This is the life and death of Alana Sims. Her story leads us to Tampa, Florida, a city widely known as a hub for families, tourists, and professionals alike. Yet beneath the surface of its tropical appeal, Tampa grapples with a crime rate that stands about 80% higher than the national average. And it is in this very setting where Alana's life would come to a devastating end. Alana Sims, lovingly called Lana, came into the world on February 13, 2000 in Tampa, Florida, as the daughter of Carlos Pinheiro and Shalevi Sims. She was raised in a big, close-knit household that included not only her parents and siblings, but also extended relatives. As the third of 5 sisters, she grew up in an environment that valued family bonds, which shaped her into a gentle, compassionate, and loving young woman. As she grew, Alana's warmth extended beyond her home and into her school life. She studied at Chamberlain High School in Tampa, Florida, where classmates and teachers remembered her for her kindness and welcoming smile. Like many teenagers, she enjoyed being with friends and finding joy in the everyday moments of youth. When Alana began moving from her teenage years into adulthood, her outlook started to shift. She became more focused on building a life filled with love, stability, and meaning. That vision became clearer when she learned she was expecting her first child. On the journey into motherhood, the father of her baby remained unknown to the public. What was known, however, is that he was not prepared to take on the responsibility of raising a family. This left Alana to embrace parenthood on her own. Even with the challenges of being a single mother, she met them with strength and determination. Motherhood marked a turning point in Alana's life. It became her source of strength, her greatest joy, and the reason she kept moving forward. After the birth of her son, Yazan, her world centered completely on him. She stepped away from nightlife and parties, finding her true happiness in the simple role of being a mother. Friends and relatives often shared that caring for Yazan was more than just a duty for Alana. It was what she loved most. Her commitment to her son was evident to everyone, not only through what she said, but through how she lived. Much of this devotion could be seen in the way she often shared moments of her life as a mother on social media. Yazan was fortunate to have a mother who gave her her all, yet heartbreakingly, he will grow up without memories of her, as Alana's life was cut short by the actions of a man whose choices would alter everything. That man was none other than Billy Bennett Adams III, a 25-year-old man who was originally born in Virginia and grew up in Georgia before relocating to Tampa Bay in 2017 with hopes of building a future for himself. On the surface, Billy appeared to be on a solid path. He earned a degree in science and management from the University of South Florida, yet his true ambition did not lie in academics. Instead, he pursued music and eventually built an identity as a rapper under the name Ace NH. At first, this might have suggested that he had the means and focus to support someone like Alana. But a closer look at his music revealed a darker side. His songs often carried messages about violence and street life, hinting at the troubling behavior he would later embrace in reality. The warning signs surrounding Billy did not stop there. Reports also linked him to the Crips, a well-known criminal gang in the United States. From the very start, it was evident that Billy posed a real danger. Yet despite these concerns, Alana chose to stay in the relationship with him, a decision that would ultimately cost her life. At first, their relationship appeared normal. Billy seemed attentive, involved, and even accepting of Alana's first child, or at least that was the impression Alana held. For someone like Alana, already navigating motherhood and searching for stability, that sense of reassurance likely meant a great deal. For a time, Billy gave her something she had longed for, the comfort of believing she was not facing her journey alone. With time, Alana started to imagine a shared future with Billy. The relationship quickly grew more serious, and before long, she gave birth to his child. In her heart, Alana believed this new chapter would strengthen their bond and bring them closer together. What she didn't realize was that this moment would instead open the door to something far darker. To understand why, we need to look back at Billy's past, a past filled with darkness that should have served as a warning for Alana to walk away. On the night of February 20th, 2020, years before Alana and Billy even crossed paths, Billy was involved in a crime so deliberate and merciless that it shocked all who learned of it. That evening, Billy was inside a Tampa recording studio. He was there to work on music with his friend, Joseph Meeks. At the same time, two other men, Traven Albury and Daniel Thompson, happened to be at the studio as well. On that night, Billy claimed he heard Traven and Daniel making plans to rob his friend Joseph, the studio owner. What happened next crossed every line of reason. He shot both of them in the back of their heads, execution style. In just moments, 2 lives were taken. Rather than calling for help or staying at the scene, he ran, abandoning Joseph in the studio with the bodies of his friends.
I pulled out my gun and I shot Mr. Albury in fear of Mr. Meeks being shot or myself being shot.
Investigators quickly connected the dots, and Billy was arrested and charged with double murder. What followed was a drawn-out legal fight that dragged on for years. Billy's defense rested on a self-defense claim. He insisted that he acted after hearing the two men discuss robbing Joseph, the studio owner, and that his only intent was to shield his friend. But the evidence told another story, one far more troubling. Both victims were shot from behind, each with a single shot to the head. This wasn't a struggle. It wasn't an exchange of gunfire. The scene resembled an execution, directly contradicting the idea of self-defense. Joseph Meeks, the very person Billy said he was protecting, was left behind in shock. Surrounded by silence and blood, he had no idea what had just happened. Eventually, he called 911, and when authorities arrived, they found no trace of a fight, no weapons belonging to the victims, and no sign of Billy. The legal process stretched on for almost 3 years, and during that entire period, Billy held firm to his claims. He entered a plea of not guilty, faced the courtroom, and even testified on his own behalf. But this is where the story grows even more unsettling. Throughout the arrests, court appearances, and media coverage, Alana was fully aware. She knew Billy had run from the crime scene, leaving his friend to handle the devastating aftermath. She knew the man she welcomed into her life was accused of committing a brutal double murder, and still, she chose to remain. Alana didn't just stay by his side, she supported him. She ignored the accusations and held on to the version of Billy she wanted to believe in. What made the situation more troubling was that Billy spent the entirety of their relationship behind bars, awaiting trial. How Alana first came into contact with him remains unclear, and so does the question of how she later became pregnant. Meanwhile, her family had no knowledge of the relationship, unaware that she was secretly tied to a man facing such serious charges. Despite all this, their relationship carried on. In the months that followed, Alana visited him in jail, wrote him letters, and kept in touch through calls, never sharing the truth with her family. It was a secret she kept close, one that would ultimately lead to her tragic end. Alana's love for Billy was unwavering. To her, the only barrier between them was the trial keeping him confined. Then came the day that changed everything. On the 27th of January, 2023, after nearly 3 years of courtroom battles, the jury delivered its decision. Billy was acquitted of all charges connected to the double homicide. The verdict declared him not guilty, and he left the courthouse a free man. The verdict left Alana filled with happiness, believing she could finally be with the man she loved.
Jury find as follows: to count 2 of the charge of murder in the first degree, Trayvon Albury. The defendant is not guilty.
To her, his freedom meant the start of a new chapter together. What she didn't realize was that this moment would instead open the door to something far darker. On the 30th of January 2023, just a few days after Billy's acquittal, tragedy struck. That evening,
Alana left her home under the impression that she was heading to a celebration for Billy's release, an event she had been eagerly anticipating. But by around 10 p.m.,
the night she thought would bring joy ended in horror. The Tampa Police Department received a disturbing 911 call about a pregnant woman found unresponsive near the Easton Park subdivision in New Tampa. Responding officers soon arrived and were met with a heartbreaking scene. Lying on the ground was Alana, lifeless. A closer look revealed she'd been shot in the back of the head, yet the discovery grew even more unbearable. Just a few feet away, her 18-month-old son was found inside her car, sitting near his mother's body. The child had been there the entire time. Although physically unharmed, the reality remained devastating. He had lost the one person who had been his entire world. Not long after Alana's body was identified, word of her death began to spread rapidly across the community. Her family was contacted, and the weight of the tragedy hit them with crushing force. The loss of Alana was crushing, but what tormented her loved ones most were the questions that lingered. How had she ended up in that area? Who could have carried out such a violent act against her? And, perhaps most disturbing of all, why? Detectives immediately began their investigation, combing through the scene and surrounding area for anything that might point to the person behind the crime. Yet the path toward answers proved to be painfully slow and filled with uncertainty. For Alana's family, the confusion was overwhelming. They had no idea who could be responsible for such a cruel act. Even more puzzling, they didn't know why Alana had been in that neighborhood, given that she had lived in Tampa her entire life. But soon, investigators uncovered a key lead that changed everything. As the case unfolded, one name quickly rose to the forefront: Billy Adams. For law enforcement, this immediately raised concern. Only days earlier, he had been cleared of charges in a double homicide, and now another death seemed to circle back to him. The deeper investigators dug, the more they learned about Billy's connection to Alana. When questioned, he gave statements that only fueled suspicion. At first, Billy denied any involvement in Alana's death. He insisted he hadn't spoken to her or even seen her for months. Taking it a step further, he distanced himself completely by denying that he was the father of her unborn baby. It didn't take long before cracks appeared in Billy's account. When questioned about his whereabouts on the night of January 30th, the night Alana was killed, he insisted that he had stayed home the entire evening and hadn't gone anywhere until the following day. But evidence quickly challenged that claim. Security footage and records from the gated community where he lived revealed otherwise. Investigators learned that Billy had actually taken his father's car out that night. When confronted with his contradiction, he shifted his story, saying he had gone out with friends and even provided a video to back up his claim. The problem was, the video was fake. Police determined it had been staged and recorded 2 days later, on February 1st, not on the night of the murder as Billy had claimed. With his story unraveling, suspicion around Billy intensified. Detectives then obtained a warrant to search his phone, hoping it might shed more light. What they uncovered became the turning point in the case. Inside his messages, police found clear evidence of recent communication between Billy and Alana, directly disproving his claim that they hadn't spoken in months. But what followed in those records was even more disturbing. On the 29th of January 2023, just 1 day before Alana's death, Billy had sent a chilling text to another woman, Lakenya Brantley. The message read, "Tomorrow, this is done." In that same conversation, Brantley had voiced concern about Alana's pregnancy. Billy made it clear he wanted no life that included Alana or her unborn child. Brantley even tried to dissuade him, replying, "This ain't the way, baby." This exchange revealed a possible motive for the crime. And yet, the evidence tying Billy to Alana's murder grew even stronger when investigators uncovered something even chilling. From the phone data, investigators uncovered that Billy had searched for driving directions to the Easton Park subdivision, the exact area where Alana's body was later discovered. Even more telling, this search was made on the 30th of January 2023 at 6:43 p.m., only a few hours before the 911 call reporting her death. This evidence was devastating. His alibi had already unraveled, and now his digital trail placed him near the crime scene, while his own messages revealed a motive. Still, Billy refused to cooperate fully with detectives. Instead, he gave a confession that only deepened the horror of the case. When confronted with the mounting proof, Billy finally admitted he had seen Alana that night, but rather than taking responsibility, he spun another version of events. He told police that he acted in self-defense, the very same explanation that had helped him walk free from the double homicide trial weeks earlier. According to Billy, Alana had aimed a gun at him, and during a struggle, he managed to gain control and fire the fatal shot.
Investigators, however, immediately found contradictions in his account. Pressed for more details, Billy changed his story again. This time, he said Alana did have a gun, but he had already taken it from her before he pulled the trigger. He admitted to shooting her in the back of the head, an act that could hardly be seen as self-defense. When asked about the weapon, he coldly stated that he had discarded it on his way home. By now, his shifting narratives left little doubt. He acknowledged being at the scene, he acknowledged firing the gun, he acknowledged knowing that Alana was pregnant, and that he could have been the father. Taken together, his conflicting statements, the damning phone evidence, the clear motive, and his violent past involving the deaths of 2 men, the case against him was undeniable. On the 8th of February 2023, authorities arrested Billy Adams. He was charged with 2 counts of first-degree premeditated murder, one for Alana Sims and another for her unborn child. The most chilling part, he had only been out of jail for 9 days. After being acquitted of a double homicide, Billy Adams was once again behind bars, this time accused of killing the woman who stood by him, along with the child they shared. At present, Billy remains in custody without bond at the Falkenberg Road Jail in Hillsborough County, Florida, meaning he will stay locked up until the court reaches a final decision in his case. Despite the evidence against him, Billy once again entered a plea of not guilty. Yet his earlier acquittal has drawn renewed criticism. One juror from that prior trial revealed that no one on the panel actually believed Billy's version of events. His release then had come down to the prosecution's failure to establish a clear motive. This time, however, the situation is starkly different. Only 9 days after walking free, he stood accused of murdering a woman who believed in him, who thought she was attending a celebration, and who was carrying his child. As of now, no official trial date has been announced, but pre-trial hearings are already moving forward. The presiding judge has ordered that Billy remain jailed without bond, citing both the gravity of the charges and the risk he poses to the community. Meanwhile, Alana's loved ones are left in unimaginable grief. The deepest wound is carried by her 18-month-old son, who will grow up without his mother. He lost the one person who had surrounded him with love, care, and stability. Beyond her family, the entire community feels the weight of this loss, knowing that a young child has been denied the love every mother deserves to give. To honor Alana's life, a funeral service was held at Aikens Funeral Home, located at 2708 E. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Tampa, Florida. Friends, relatives, and community members gathered to pay tribute, celebrating the warmth and kindness she shared, even as they faced the reality of her life being taken far too soon. Her death serves as a difficult reminder of the dangers of overlooking warning signs. Billy's troubling past was no secret, yet Alana's trust in him ended in tragedy. It is a lesson that underscores the need to listen to our instincts and remain aware of red flags, no matter how convincing someone may seem. Do you believe Billy is guilty of Alana's murder? Share your thoughts in the comments below.